The film opens with a little girl, perched in the fragile comfort of a world about to end, watching cartoons as the TV signal suddenly shatters into static. In its place, a chilling emergency broadcast pierces the room. A deadly plague has seized the Earth. This was no mere virus. It was a primal infection that stripped humanity away, transforming the living into bloodthirsty predators within mere minutes. Scientists had issued a final, desperate warning. The world was falling, and the only rule left was survival. We see a mother, her nerves frayed to the breaking point, clutching a phone to hear her husband's voice one last time. He is a pilot, trapped in a cockpit while the world below screams in agony. He tells her the truth. The situation is a descent into madness. The ferals are everywhere. These are not the slow, mindless undead of legend. They are fast, they are powerful, and terrifyingly, they can think. Their shadow has already swallowed entire cities, and the ground beneath the family's feet has become the most dangerous place on Earth. You have to leave now, the pilot commands. But before the line goes cold, he holds up a small, handmade bracelet, Abigail's gift to him. It is a promise in beads and string. He will keep it forever, and he will find his way back to them. They surge outside into a landscape of pure nightmare. Sirens wail like mourners, the air is thick with the screams of the dying, and ferals swarm through the streets like a tide of teeth and rage. They scramble for their car, but fate is cruel. A feral lunges, and in a heartbeat, Abigail watches her own mother dissolve into a monster before her eyes. Abigail collapses under the car, paralyzed by a terror no child should know. From her hiding place, she watches the same beast tear into her brother, infecting him in a spray of red. Her heart shatters, but she remains a statue of silence. She knows that a single sob is a death sentence. The creature passes, leaving her in the cold shadow of the vehicle. She thinks she is saved, until the monster that used to be her mother catches her scent. It turns, charging at its own flesh and blood with murderous intent. A gunshot cracks through the air. Abigail watches her mother fall, silenced by a stranger's bullet. Her savior is Cassius, a man forged in iron, who pulls her from the dirt and cradles her trembling frame. But his eyes find a new threat. Abigail's brother, now twitching with the fever of the feral. Cassius commands her to cover her ears, and with a heavy mercy, he fires a bullet into the boy's skull, ending his humanity forever. In a few frantic minutes, Abigail's universe was obliterated. Her family was ash, and from that day forward, Cassius became her world, her teacher, her shield, and her only kin. The screen fades and we awaken 10 years later. The world is a graveyard of silence. Mankind is an endangered species, hiding in the cracks while the ferals rule the ruins. Abigail is no longer a trembling child. She has been reborn as a warrior. Under Cassius's ruthless tutelage, she has learned the grim art of the hunt and the cold science of survival. Deep in the woods, they observe a lone survivor fleeing for his life. Cassius sees an opportunity, a test of blood. He hands Abigail his sniper rifle. Save the man. Kill the monsters. Abigail settles into the brush, her finger ghosting the trigger. Cassius whispers for her to find her center, to breathe, to target the heart of the beast. But in her desperate hunger to prove her worth, her vision narrows too much. She pulls the trigger and the world goes silent. The bullet finds a home not in the monster, but in the chest of the innocent man. In a world where every human life is a miracle, Abigail had just snuffed one out. Cassius erupts in fury, charging into the fray to finish the zombies. He knows the fallen man is now a ticking time bomb, and before the infection can reclaim the corpse, he severs the head. He strips the body of supplies, even taking the dead man's shoes to replace his own tattered soles. They turn to leave, but the roar of engines halts them. They are surrounded by a band of armed survivors. Seeing their friend's shoes on Cassius's feet, they see a murderer and a thief. The tension is a powder keg until Megan, a pregnant woman carrying the future in her womb, steps between the guns. "Stop!" she cries. "They are human. We are all that is left." But before the standoff can break, the noise of their confrontation rings out like a dinner bell. The ferals are coming. They descend from every shadow, a blur of speed and hunger. There is no time to reach the vehicles. The survivors form a desperate circle, their weapons spitting fire into the dark. But bullets are finite. The hunger of the ferals is not. One by one, the group is torn apart, their screams joining the chorus of the night. Only 4 remain: Cassius, Abigail, Megan, and her husband, David. While the monsters feast on the fallen, the 4 survivors leap into a car and vanish into the trees. But they are being hunted. The leader of the feral pack, the Alpha, is a creature of singular malice. Driven by a twisted vestige of memory and a burning grudge, he catches Cassius's scent. He will not stop until he has tasted the blood of the man who led his pack to ruin. As the car tears through the wasteland, Cassius asks, "Where to?" The answer is a legend whispered among the dying. The colony, also known as Boat Town, it is a fortress of iron ships lashed together on the water. A sanctuary complete with doctors, walls, and hope. Abigail's eyes ignite. She has spent a decade dreaming of a world that looks like the one she lost. Cassius is a skeptic, a ghost who has seen too much death to believe in miracles, but Abigail refuses to let go. They will go, if only to deliver Megan and her unborn child to safety. The journey is a gauntlet. Their car dies, forcing them into the wilderness. They stumble upon an old airfield, the very place Abigail's father once flew from. She begs them to search for a plane, a desperate gambit to soar above the hell on earth. Cassius thinks it's madness, but Abigail's will is unbreakable. Hidden in a hangar, they find a relic of the old world, a small, worn-out plane. As David frantically wrenches the engine back to life, the horde arrives. They are minutes away. Abigail climbs into the pilot's seat, the ghost of her father's lessons guiding her trembling hands. The zombies breach the perimeter just as the engine roars to life. They race down the runway, monsters clinging to the wings and clawing at the hull. Cassius hangs half out of the door, kicking a feral back into the dirt before Abigail pulls the nose up, soaring into the clouds. For an hour, they are gods. Then, the engine screams. Smoke fills the cabin as the aged machine fails. Cassius grabs the controls with Abigail, and together they guide the metal bird into a violent crash through the canopy of a forest. They emerge bloodied, bruised, but alive. The colony is only 2 days away on foot. They find temporary refuge in a ruined building, where Cassius's stone exterior finally begins to crack. He looks at Megan and sees the ghost of the wife he had to kill with his own hands when the world fell. He promises her, with the weight of a man who has nothing left to lose, that he will see her to the gates of the sanctuary. But the road offers one final trap. They find a farmhouse, pristine, powered, and brimming with life. The owner is a scientist, a man who has kept his sanity but lost his soul. Over a meal that tastes like a forgotten dream, he reveals his madness. He believes the virus is the next step in human evolution. He has laced their drinks. As they slip into a drug-induced darkness, he speaks of a world where the strong ferals inherit the earth and the weak humans are merely fuel. They wake in chains. The scientist reveals his crowning achievement, his own zombie wife, controlled by a high-frequency device. He intends to turn them all into his thralls. But David has a secret of his own. He has been infected, and the virus is granting him a monstrous strength. He shatters his bonds, fighting the scientist's pet with a fury that is barely human. They kill the creature and flee in the scientist's truck. But the madman is not finished. He activates his device, summoning a sea of ferals to drown them. The road is blocked. They are forced to run. David, feeling his humanity slipping away into the black, realizes his time is up. He says a heartbreaking goodbye to Megan. "I'm doing this for the baby," he whispers, before turning back into the horde to buy them seconds with his life. The survivors reach the riverbank. Across the water, the fortress of ships looms, a miracle made of rust and steel. The colony's guards open fire, clearing a path through the monsters. A boat arrives, whisking them into the heart of the sanctuary. The ferals can only watch from the shore. They cannot cross the water. Inside, Abigail is breathless. She is among people again, but the joy is hollow. Megan gives birth to a beautiful daughter, only to bleed out in the flickering light of the medical bay. With her final breath, she gives her child to Cassius. "Train her," she begs, "like you trained Abigail." That night, amidst a celebration Abigail can't join, she discovers the colony's dark secret. A room filled with explosives, a plan B, to sink the entire sanctuary if the walls ever fail. Suddenly, the nightmare returns. The mad scientist has arrived at the shore, and he has brought the Alpha. Using his device, he forces the Alpha to plunge into the water. Seeing their leader move, the horde follows, a carpet of drowning, swimming monsters reaching for the ships. Panic turns the celebration into a slaughter. Cassius finds the scientist in the chaos and, in a fit of righteous rage, hammers the control device against the wall until it shatters. The signals die, and the scientist is torn apart by the very god he tried to create. Cassius and Abigail race for the escape tunnel, clutching the newborn baby. But in the dark of the ship's bowels, Abigail comes face to face with the Alpha. She raises her weapon, but her heart stops. On the monster's wrist is the bracelet, the beads she strung 10 years ago. This beast was the pilot. This was her father. She is paralyzed as he lunges to devour her. Cassius throws himself between them, fighting for his life. Abigail watches the man who raised her struggle against the ghost of the man who sired her. In that moment, she realizes the truth. Cassius is her father. She levels her gun and fires a single perfect shot into the Alpha's head. They dive through the escape tunnel just as the boy at the detonator presses the button. The colony vanishes in a pillar of fire, incinerating the horde in a funeral pyre of iron. The survivors stand on the distant shore, watching the flames. Across the water, a small green island waits. It is a blank page. Cassius looks at Abigail and the infant in his arms. He finally understands that a man alone is just a target, but a man with a family is a force. They set off for the island, leaving the ghosts behind to build a home that will forever be a silent zone for the monsters of the world.